Hello, guys. Welcome to a Wednesday SJU. We got a packed panel here. We got a lot to talk about. We got Vanessa, we got Kim, we got Lon. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hey.
We're going to talk about some Golden Globe nominations and some non-nominations. We're going to talk about a Wakanda TV series, and we're going to say some fond farewells to some people that we've lost in the past week. So let's jump right into it. The Golden Globe nominations came out this morning, which for some reason they still do it like, I don't know, is it 5:30 in the morning US? I don't know why they do it when they do it, but the nominations came out. We're not going to go over every single one of these, but the top contenders in the motion picture drama, and again, the Globe split things into drama and comedy categories. So on the movie side, The Father, Mank, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, and The Trial of the Chicago 7 got nominated. On the musical comedy front for movies, Borat subsequent movie film, Hamilton, Palm Springs, Music, and The Prom. And then in TV, on the big side, the drama category, we had The Crown, Lovecraft Country, The Mandalorian, Ozark, and Ratchet. And in the comedy or musical, we had Emily in Paris, The Flight Attendant, The Great, Schitt's Creek, and Ted Lasso. There is a lot to jump in here with the Globes, what got nominated, what didn't get nominated, and you know, the whole talk about the Globes and who even makes those decisions. But guys, what jumped out to you about all these nominations this morning, and what made you the happiest?
Well, the first thing, Emily in Paris. How many times do they have to go over this? She's Emily. She's in Paris.
They
That's how you say that,
Rhymes.
Jeff.
Yes. You're a big Emily and Pre fan, right, Lon?
As we all know.
Yeah.
No, I have not seen it, but I did think that was hilarious that, of course, we were all naturally calling it Emily in Paris, and then Netflix is like, no, idiots.
Besides Emily,
Paris.
Lon, was there anything that jumps out to you that was like a treasured nomination?
Oh, a treasured nomination. I have not, I'll be honest with you, I have not seen a lot of the films that are nominated for the drama film yet. Like I'm still I like Nomadland, The Father, like I gotta get around to these. So yeah, I have not checked that out yet, but I will say probably my favorite lead performer. I had two favorite lead performances of the year. Riz Ahmed in Sound of Metal is one of them, so I was delighted to see that he got a nomination. The other one, I was very disappointed that Delroy Lindo is not nominated for Five Bloods, which I thought was like obviously going to be one of the more celebrated movies. Like that's a big snub in a lot of these categories, I think.
What about Kim? What for you jumps out here?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of titles and in terms of movies nominated, I'm glad that Mank got a nomination, which, I think it's a film that maybe David Fincher may not have had the opportunity to make if it weren't for a Netflix. I know it's a script that his father wrote in the 90s and he'd always wanted to make it. And for whatever reason, it didn't happen until now. And it's great to see it getting all this recognition because it's a brilliant film. I'm glad he got the chance to make it, and Gary Oldman's amazing in it. And on the TV side, actually, we're joking about Emily in Paris, and it's a controversial one, but I'm glad to see it nominated because it's bright and breezy and escapist, and I'm thankful for it because I enjoyed it. I think it's smarter and a bit more satirical than maybe some people give it credit for. But yeah, and the other one I have to mention is Lovecraft Country because I'm always banging the drum for that.
Yeah, it's funny because I haven't seen Emily in Paris, but the nice thing with the Globe splitting things into comedy and drama is it just gives you a chance to get things nominated that would be deemed at the Emmys or Oscars. Well, I should say at the Oscars specifically, because Emmys is not an issue, but like, when things are seen as not serious enough and they can't get nominated if it's not split into drama and comedy. What about you, Vanessa?
Yeah.
Is there something? Oh, sorry, Lon, what were you going to say there?
I was just going to say that, like, the one time this year where I really feel like that paid off for us was Maria Bakalova got a nomination for Borat 2. Amazing performance that probably would not have gotten one of the best performances in anything this year, and probably would not have been recognized if we were just keeping it to dramatic films.
Yep, totally agree. Vanessa, what else for you?
In terms of excited, I'm thrilled Regina King has that director nom. I'm so excited for Promising Young Woman, but the thing that like has me just really hype and buzzy is La Llorona for Best Picture Foreign Film.
Yes.
For those that are wondering if I'm talking about the Controverse one, it's not that one. It's one that came after that one. It's two things that are really close to my heart. It's a horror movie, and it is made by a Guatemalan production company, Guatemalan director. It takes place in Guatemala. It mixes horror and folklore and all these things I like, and I'm just buzzing with excitement because I don't think in my lifetime I've ever seen something that, like, from where my family is from, be nominated with this kind of accolade in film. So this is so exciting. I'm literally turning pink with joy.
It's a really cool movie. It's on Shudder, I think, right now, which is where I saw it. And it's like a political sort of drama thriller mixed with all the horror stuff. I like that movie.
It's really fun. It's a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really cool just to see a Shudder movie getting that nomination. For me, there's definitely some stuff on the comedy side that jumps out. Maria Bakalova for sure. I love that Jane Levy got nominated for Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. She's so good in that show. And then I really loved Palm Springs, so I was glad to see that nomination. Andy Samberg got a nomination for it. There was definitely the splitting up category thing. Sometimes it's a little weird, but sometimes it really pays off because you get these things getting noticed that might not have otherwise. Also, it was cool to see Anya Taylor-Joy nominated for both Emma and The Queen's Gambit because she had a hell of a year. So very cool to see those nominations. Now,
one other I neglected to mention, I'll throw in there before we move on. Ethan Hawke did get nominated for The Good Lord Bird. It was the only nomination that got this year. That was an amazing limited series from Showtime that I did not see a ton of people talking about. It was about John Brown and the raid on Harper's Ferry, like pre-Civil War West history. Incredible show, brilliantly directed, a huge cast. Everybody was great, but Ethan Hawke is giving this next level, like wild performance as John Brown. Really worth seeking out.
It's such a weird year because as we get more and more, so there's 500 shows on TV. No one can watch everything anyway. But this year, especially with the pandemic and the way movies are being released, we're getting, like you mentioned, Lon, it's like Nomadland. I'm dying to see Nomadland. I think it's actually playing theatrically in a tiny release right now, which means nothing in LA. You cannot go see it. So it's like some of these movies are just inaccessible and they were only shown to people for awards consideration at the moment. That being said, I know, Lon, you mentioned Delroy Lindo, but for all of you, is there any snubs, anyone you really, or anyone or any movie or TV show that you really wish had gotten notice in a very jam-packed year?
Yeah. I think a big one for me, and I think it's the one that everyone is talking about because it had so much accolade in 2020 and we all thought it would get something during the Globes, is I May Destroy You. Both for direction, writing, performance. I cannot believe I May Destroy You has been snubbed. Even just like critical acclaim was huge for it in 2020. And one that I feel like didn't have as much critical acclaim in terms of like Twitter, but like people that watched it loved it, is P-Valley. If we're talking about stuff that was on Showtime that was just like really well done and really loved, P-Valley is incredible. P-Valley, I haven't seen character writing and storytelling like that since Deadwood, hand to God.
Oh, wow.
It's incredible, and everyone that's watched it, like every critic that's talked about it, speaks on how tight that story and how well written those characters are. So also amazed P-Valley hasn't gotten anything.
Yeah, P-Valley was terrific, and Deadwood's a good reference point because it's taking you inside this world that's so foreign and in the rhythms and the way that they speak. And by the time you've watched the first season, you're like, I get this now. Like I learned about like it's so that, I think it's Starz actually.
You're right, it is Starz.
But for me, and I knew that this wasn't going to get huge attention, but it bugged me anyway that it didn't. I'm thinking of Ending Things, the Charlie Kaufman Netflix movie. Beautifully acted, beautifully directed, a brilliant screenplay. I figured it was maybe a bit much. It's not an award-friendly kind of movie, but I had sort of held that hope maybe Toni Collette or David Thewlis or Jessie Buckley might score a nod. And they did not.
Was not to be. Kim, what about
you? Small Axe, the McQueen films on Amazon. What happened there? Mangrove is amazing.
But there was also a lot of confusion about even like, do you consider those a mini series or individual movies?
Right.
I think in a lot of people's minds that got kind of convoluted. So I don't know if that hurt.
Right. I know the LA Film Critics awarded the whole anthology. It's like film of the year. I felt like Mangrove you could have taken out and like that could have sustained an award campaign as its own movie. And I think it's like it's doing what Trial of Chicago 7 is doing, which did get nominated. I thought Mangrove was a lot better, personally.
Yeah. Ken, what about you? Any big snubs jumping out for you?
Delroy Lindo, same as Lon, but the Five Bloods as a whole, you know, it got no nominations, which is outrageous to me. And then, you know, going back to Lovecraft Country, Jonathan Majors and Journey Smollett, I felt deserved nominations. You know, not only is it such an original show, but these characters are so complex, and the performances are amazing. And also actually Michael K. Williams, who plays Atticus's dad in the series. What a performance, what a character. Those were my biggest snubs.
Oh, by the way, I forget. You know, John Boyega did get nominated for Small Axe. Small Axe, which that was really cool too, and that Small Axe getting limited series. But yeah, for me, a lot of the snubs that jump out are on the comedy side. And I guess it's funny because if you look, they call the category comedy or musical, and I realize that's always a little weird because it's not like there's that many musical movies, and there's certainly not that many musical TV shows. Yeah. But I will say on the TV side, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, like I said, Jane Levy did get nominated, which is great, but the show itself, I thought, would be worthwhile for a nomination. And then I'm really glad Ted Lasso is getting so much attention. It totally deserves it. One of the best shows of the year. But Central Park is another really fun show on Apple TV Plus that is a musical as well. So that's one I knew was unlikely. It just seems a little too under the radar, but that would have been cool. And then super dark horse probably never was going to happen. And I should say, I haven't seen The Prom. I don't hear great things about it. But looking at it there, I'm like, in my dream world, in Eric Controls the Universe world, I would have snuck Bill and Ted in there instead, into the comedy category, because it was a sweet, great movie that we did in the middle of a happy year. And then, and anything else jump out at you guys? I mean, it's worth noting that Netflix, which has been the case for a while, dominates here. I mean, of course, they release so much every year that I guess it's not that shocking, but they had 42 total nominations. Amazon and Hulu follow that with 10 each. And, it is definitely worth noting that after getting a lot of flack for the lack of female nominees that they've ever had, the director category for film is actually dominated by women this year, with Chloe Zhao from Nomadland, which we haven't been able to see, Emerald Fennell for Promising Young Women, and Regina King for One Night in Miami, all nominated. Anything else jump out at you guys as sort of like weird stuff about this year's Globes, or was it sort of just business as usual, pandemic aside?
Not so much. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you go, Vanessa. You start.
Vanessa, I declare you shall go.
No, you hang up. I was just going to say, not weird, but just not something that I'd expect, but I'm thrilled for her. This is an amazing year for Kaylee Cuoco. Yeah. The Flight Attendant was fantastic. Harley Quinn is amazing. I'm very excited that she's just taking on these really lovely, strange, wonderful projects that really highlight how much of a talented actress she is. So that was one where I was really pleased to see her on there.
Yeah, I agree. She's been acting since she was a little kid. Mm-hmm. She made a fortune doing Big Bang Theory, but I really love that she came out of Big Bang Theory and really could have coasted and gone into a typical sitcom or whatever, but instead she got weird and did some really cool stuff and seems to be paying off.
Yeah, I was gonna call out, this is also not weird, but just a personal thing, The Haunting of Bly Manor, because it was so different to the first series, The Haunting of Hill House, which got a lot of acclaim, but it didn't get nominated for a Golden Globe. But that it was, for me, it was this really actually a beautiful, mysterious love story rather than a ghost story so much. And I thought Victoria Pedretti was wonderful in it. Mm-hmm. So, I'm disappointed a little bit that they didn't get recognition there.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like you could probably just play my comments from this show last year or the year before. Like, where's Better Call Saul? Always, like, Odenkirk gets the nomination, and then nothing else. Like, Rhea Seehorn is so good on that show. The writing is so good. It's like, at this point, I feel like that show is basically as good as Breaking Bad was, which is remarkable as an achievement. Like, to go back, if you could tell people when Breaking Bad was ending, like, the spinoff about Saul Goodman's going to be just about this good. No one would believe you. And yet I feel like every year it's like, is it just that it doesn't stream right away? Like people are late to see it? I don't know what happens there. It's a weird disconnect.
Breaking Bad didn't pick up a huge amount of awards, did it though?
It took a little bit, but then once it did, it was like consistent, it seems like. And
I do think Lana's right because most people, unless you watched it on AMC, haven't seen season 4 yet, which would be
like Netflix.
That is.
Yeah, so Netflix takes like a year to catch up with the AMC schedule, and I feel like that might be part of it, that it's just not part of our mutual streaming conversation the way like a Lovecraft Country, not to knock Lovecraft Country was great, but like some of those shows are like in our face all the time because they're on all these big platforms. We're all talking about Queen's Gambit together.
Yeah. It is strange. And I feel like just a lot of people are sleeping on it, maybe just because it had to work hard to get out of the shadow of Breaking Bad, but man, it has.
So good.
The last thing I wanted to say before we move on from this is just that it's just funny to see that, and I'm cool with it because I think it's a really cool show, but The Mandalorian is kind of like now a go-to for these nominations for Best Series. And, look, it's an amazing accomplishment, and I think people really dug season 2. Typically, it would not be seen as like an awards contender for that, in the technical, yes, but not as far as like Best Series, but it got the Emmy nomination and now the Globes nomination. So what are you guys think of The Mandalorian kind of just being in the mix now, it seems like, for this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
good show.
Show. Yeah, it's great. Of course, and one of the interesting things is, the episodes are 30 minutes long and they feel the right length. I'm not, I love it and I want more, but I'm not sitting there thinking, I wish this episode just had 15 more minutes or whatever. Right. It's just pitched perfectly in all areas. So great. I'd like to have seen Pedro Pascal get a nomination, maybe.
Yeah.
As far as it's 100% different kind of show, but it almost feels to me like it's now taking like that spot that Game of Thrones had as far as like the genre show that we're like, we're going to acknowledge you work really hard on the show. We're going to.
I think especially the Globes, like every award show and the people who voted, they all like to have that common touch of like at least one or two of the shows on here is like a big, legit, popular audience favorite. So it doesn't feel like we're just nominating all of these like esoteric, high-minded things. And I think that, Mandalorian is like that perfect combo of it's really well done, it's beloved and popular, and like critics are behind it, and you can make a case for why it's legitimately a really good show.
Yep. All right. Thanks, guys. That is our Globes segment. Thank you so much for watching. You can subscribe to our channel for videos every weekday. Hit that like, hit that bell for us. And we are going to be here. There's not a new show tomorrow, but on Friday, myself and Roth will be back to talk about WandaVision episode 5. We'll see if they deliver that 80s sitcom we thought last week was going to be, but then they threw us for a loop. Catching up a little bit on some stuff here. We want to talk about Wakanda, but also just sort of Ryan Coogler in general just signed a big new 5-year deal. It's with Disney overall for TV. And so it sounds like, who knows, like he might do something for FX, or maybe he'll do an ABC series because Disney TV means a lot these days. But the one thing we know for sure that is part of this is a Wakanda-based series that will be for Disney Plus. That'll be, another one of the sort of MCU series we're getting. So what do you guys think about a Wakanda series, and especially the fact that Coogler is going to kind of be guiding that segment, it seems, of the MCU still going forward?
I think he built a gorgeous world in Black Panther that I'm really excited to see delved into further. Wakanda is just a part of the Marvel universe that I've always wanted to see expanded on and explored more, just because it's been so isolated that the inner workings of it are so fascinating. And considering the incredible job that he's done of it already, because it's something that we all were wondering what it was going to look like once it finally came to screen, I'm excited to see it have more time and kind of like see the inner workings of like how Wakanda's economy and political system and how much different it is from anything else that we've seen in the MCU.
Yeah, I feel like
I feel like we're go ahead.
Go for it, Lon.
I was just gonna say, I feel like we're missing one line. I obviously I'm in for a Coogler Wakanda show, sure, whatever it is. But I do feel like there should be one more phrase in this tagline. Like usually you get, it's going to be set in Wakanda and it's going to follow. Like who are the spies that are getting sent out that Wakanda sending to the other people, or is it like cops in Wakanda, or like, you know, like or it's about all these different tribes and now they get along, like, you know, Boardwalk Empire in Wakanda. Like, I don't know, I'm very curious as to like what the context is, because I feel like there's so much you could do. It is such a, as Vanessa was saying, like it's a really like rich environment that we've only seen like little glimpses of so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, basically whatever it is, I'm sort of in the tank for it. Like, you know, I'll take more Coogler Wakanda content.
And who knows,
Sure.
maybe it's so early they don't even know yet. But yeah, like you
Right.
said, Lon, unless it's like an anthology series, which I don't think it'll be, it's going to be focused, looking at what they're doing right now with their shows. It's probably going to be focused around a character we already know, or a area we
or
already
to be like the Dora Milaje Chronicles or whatever, you know, like there's a million, like there's legitimately a lot of different stuff you could do, which is why I'm just like tantalized by the tease. I will say 5 years is a long time. I really hope that, as much as I enjoy Black Panther and Wakanda stuff, I really hope that we also get Ryan Coogler doing some other things that are just Ryan Coogler things, because he's such an interesting voice. And if you look at, you know, Fruitvale Station and then Creed and then Black Panther, like really wildly different genres and styles, and he's sort of easily switching between them. So I'd like to see more of what he's going to do independently in addition to Marvel stuff.
Yeah, and I think with that 5-year deal, we will get that. But of course, part of it's the one for you, one for me, right? Like, do the Wakanda series.
And like you said, I mean, like an FX series or something would be a perfect outlet for something else while he's also working on, you know, like 18 Black Panther projects.
Kim, is there something you'd especially like for this series, or anything you'd like to see Ryan Coogler do in TV?
Well, yeah, I mean, like you guys, I'm excited for it. I'm definitely turning up for a Wakanda series. Black Panther is probably my favorite MCU movie. So and actually Killmonger is probably my favorite villain. So I'd like to see him return. And then explore him in Wakanda. Maybe he comes back to challenge for the crown or something, and upsets the apple cart with M'Baku.
It's interesting, right? Because they are still doing a theatrical sequel to Black Panther. We don't have any idea what they're going to do, right? Because they have to deal with this tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman. So it'll be interesting to see how that movie is even done at all and who it centers on. And then they're doing this TV show. So it'll be, I'm curious how they'll kind of splinter off, but I do feel the fact that they're doing the theatrical sequel means it's unlikely that this show will focus on like T'Challa's family, and it probably shouldn't, right? Like you said, this Wakanda has so much to explore that we don't need it to be about as much as like there's great characters there in T'Challa's family. They can be in the theatrical films, and then who knows, we can do. I would say if I was Winston Duke, I would be hopeful for a phone call though.
I was thinking it could be a way of bringing in Atlantis.
Oh man,
yeah.
Would be cool.
I do like that idea. that would be good. We get Namor in there in his little green underwear.
Yes. That's what I was thinking.
Yes. Pivoting to sad news. Although in a lot of these cases, these are people who live great, amazing lives. It was like kind of a big week, sad to say, in a grim way, about performers who passed away. People made sort of a big impact on pop culture, but in very different ways. And I don't want to crassly be like, let's bullet point through this, because I want to give these people their due. But there's a lot of people to talk about. I want to kind of go over them a little bit quickly here. But Cicely Tyson, of course, passed away, who just an amazing career. She was 96 years old. Really pioneering actress who had she wasn't quite an EGOT. She didn't get a Grammy, but she got everything else. And 3-time Emmy winner, won a Tony, it's worth noting she got an honorary Oscar and a Tony in the past decade. In her late 80s, in her 90s, she was a recurring actor on House of Cards and How to Get Away with Murder, and winning awards. So just kind of amazing career. And I do really love this quote she had about how selective she was with her parts, has a young and then a maturing Black actress who was saying, I've been very selective as I've been my whole career about what I do. Unfortunately, I'm not the kind of person who works only for money. It has to have some real substance for me to do it. So you saw that with her role. She was, made sure that she broke a lot of, ground with everything she was doing. Anything stands out for you guys about Cicely Tyson?
I loved her on How to Get Away with Murder. I love her in everything, but it was just so lovely to see her working again. Like, just in a show that I already really, really liked, adding Cicely Tyson to the lineup made it something that was just, so rewatchable. I love her so much.
There was a great story.
I think it's.
I was just going to say there's a great story about how, like a lot of actors as they get older, she was kind of fibbing about her age for quite a while. And then at one point she got a role on Broadway and they decided she was like 88 at the time. And she's like, yeah, just put him 88. Because it was like, we can acknowledge that. And my God, kicking ass at 88. Sorry, Lon, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, we think of her as like this character actress today, but she was like a big TV star in the 70s. She was in like a lot of these like huge miniseries, like Autobiography of Miss Jean Pittman, and then Roots. And then there was one about, Martin Luther King, to the point that I just looked it up to confirm. She hosted Saturday Night Live in 1979 and like the early era. Like she was, like we, sort of modern audiences think of her as, this sort of like, she played a lot of like granny roles and old matriarch kind of roles, but she was like, about as big a TV star as you could get in the 1970s, just like in all of these huge, epic miniseries.
I saw a friend of mine, Dan Feinberg, another TV journo. He mentioned that Saturday Night Live, Lon, and how it was one of, if not it was one of their highest rated shows ever at that point. Which really kind of said something about Saturday Night Live and diversity or lack of it at the time. And kind of notably that she was like one of the only like Black actors to host at that point, but they weren't like
Black woman host was a big rarity for them in the late 70s. But they also
weren't
notable that it was Talking Heads were the musical guys.
Yeah, that's right, Talking Heads. But they weren't like, let's follow that up. Let's try to do that. It was more like, let's get more white guys hosting for a while. But yeah, just amazing career. And another person, Hal Holbrook, who died at 95 this past week. He had a very a really eclectic career, I think, because he did a lot of incredible acclaimed work in film and stage. He won a Tony. But when we were talking about him before we started recording, we were throwing out a lot of his horror stuff too.
Yeah.
We have horror fans here. What jumps out for you guys on the Hal Holbrook side of things?
Oh, the Fog.
Yep.
He was Father Malone in The Fog, and that's who he will always be to me. I think that's the first time I ever saw him on screen, and it created an impression. So, The Fog.
Yeah, we've mentioned Capricorn 1, which is that sci-fi film he was in. Also, Deep Throat from All the President's Men.
Yep.
That's one of the key roles that I sort of think of him from. He's got, trench coat.
Fletch Lives needs a shout out.
Yes.
Yep.
Was it you, Vanessa, who mentioned earlier Creepshow as well? Yeah.
He was in the segment The Crate.
Yes. He was awesome in Creepshow, and then had this kind of like amazing I don't want to call it a comeback when he's been there for years, but when he did was it Into the Wild, I believe, in like the late 2000s.
Yes.
Yeah, and he got an Oscar nomination for that. Just another long-term career. And then another one here, Cloris Leachman, who passed away at 94 this past week. And this was an interesting one because I think Cloris Leachman had a huge impact in her later years on the comedy side with Malcolm in the Middle and Raising Hope and how funny she was in those. But if you look back at her early career, she was also doing a lot of drama as well. And then, I mean, she was great at, but then, really kind of found her footing in the comedy world, Mary Tyler Moore Show, but also the stuff she did with Mel Brooks. Young Frankenstein was like a childhood favorite of mine. So that one really stands out. And I know people were sharing some Cloris Leachman stories from like secondhand as we were starting to record, but it's like she was known to be have quite a mouth on her and to have quite a lot of attitude in a way she could completely get away with. Is what I'll say on that. So what stands out for you guys on the Cloris Leachman side of things?
The one I mentioned on Twitter that I think a lot of people might not even realize is she's the voice of the old lady who befriends Beavis and Butthead in the Beavis and Butthead movie Do America.
No, really?
Amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, there's going to be so many sluts in Las Vegas. You're not going to believe it. That's her. That's supposedly.
Oh my God.
She was very fun.
Oh God, I love her so much. I was a huge Raising Hope fan, and her character on that was incredible because the whole point of her was like she'd like swing between lucidity and being the mama character that was on there. And they were completely different from each other, and she would switch it on a dime, and it was so funny. But the thing that I like recently remembered her for is the movie within the show on The Office, in which she and Jack Black played lovers, and they played it was played for jokes, but also like they were doing it seriously, which made it even funnier. And she has that great moment where she's like moving up on the mechanical chair in the staircase, and they do like that lovers arm. God, she was so good in that.
That was awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw her speak a couple times at the TCA, Television Critics Association press tour, and it was hysterical because basically if you had her on a panel, it would go crazy in a great way. She would take charge. She would like demand people stand up when they asked her questions, which wasn't like a thing. She would decide she didn't like where she was seated on the stage, and she would pick up her chair and move it. And she would yell when someone brought up Betty White, because of course they were friends and they worked together and their careers have been so long, and she was like F Betty White, which she was joking, but you know she was a wild woman, and I have video of her she must have been like about 84 at the time, but I have video of her at a Fox party when Raising Hope was on, and they had her on one of those things at carnivals where it's like a harness and it's like the bouncy harness that you get into, and man, she was Cloris Leachman was bouncing up there like which was quite a visual. Lastly, it's like, and I'm not saying all deaths aren't tragic here, but one that I think sticks out in a very different way, because we just talked about three people who lived into their 90s, had long lives. Dustin Diamond sadly passed away on Monday at the age of only 44. Of course, known very well as Screech on Saved by the Bell, and it sounds like he just got this diagnosis like 2 weeks before, so it was a very sort of rush thing. He played that character for like 12 years when you look at all the spinoffs and whatnot, and it's just like there's a lot of sadness there, because I think it's one of those things of being like typecast and not being able to escape the role, but at the same time Saved by the Bell is kind of having a moment, like a renaissance, with people like looking back and being just like the fact that it's like people love that show so much for multiple generations. So I thought it was like really nice to see the people that, it's like, it's silly to say it's a silly show, but it's like, hey, it made an impact, it's like I think almost all of us watched Saved by the Bell, and knew him very well.
Yeah. Also, one of the funniest celebrity cameos in any movie in Made, when Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau are trying to get into the club, and then the bouncer allows Dustin Diamond in and not them, and the meltdown. You let Screech in the club, sort of a little bit maybe before the era of like the hyper meta celebrity cameo, which kind of helped to define it.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That's what I always think of with this.
It's also it's weird. It's like there was a lot of stuff because he kind of infamously, like, sadly he had a lot of troubles in his life, and he had a big falling out with his castmates from Saved by the Bell. But I thought, it's because some of them were getting some flack for saying condolences, like, oh, well, you weren't friends with him till the end. I'm like, there was some reasons for that guy. He had that sort of terrible tell-all book that was all fabricated. But I've been listening to Mark Paul Gosselaar's podcast, Sack to the Future, which is a really fun podcast because it's him going over Saved by the Bell episodes that he has no recollection of. He never watched them even when they first aired, and he can barely remember filming them. So they're showing them to him now, and he's just like trying to remember stuff. But I will say, especially knowing that in real life, things weren't great between them, he's constantly complimentary about Dustin Diamond. Well before he knew he was sick, obviously, just being like, he was really funny in this scene, and like, look at him stealing this scene, which I just thought
It's true, because Saved by the Bell, it's a dumb show. I mean, a lot of us sort of like nostalgically remember it fondly, but it's dumb. But that doesn't mean that Dustin Diamond and the whole cast weren't like doing good performances and like bringing, like, there's obviously a lot of charisma there, and they're talented people, and they're delivering all of this stuff in the best way that they can. I think, you know, a lot of the time we think of like dumb shows as like disposable, and it's like, but there's still people going and doing the work every day. And like, Dustin Diamond was a very funny guy, you know?
Yep. And that reboot,
Reach
by
is
the way,
memorable 20 plus years after that show went off the air.
Oh yeah, I mean, how many times people can say that? It is sad because the reboot's really good, and honestly, the way Hollywood works, I'm sure they would have eventually tried to work things out to have him on. And you know,
for sure, yeah,
that would have been a big thing of like the public reconciliation, and we won't get that. But unfortunately, sometimes life's like that. I'm sure they're going to do a tribute to him in some way on the show next season, and and I think they'll handle it well because people doing it are smart people. Let's end.
Also, he has a connection. He was an advisor and a counselor working for Bayside, so it would make sense that the high school honors him.
Oh yeah,
we've all seen The New Class.
That's right. My mom was on an episode of The New Class and was in a scene with Dustin Diamond and Richard Haskins, Mr. Belden.
Oh,
wow! Brush with fame, right there.
I have to dig. I have a signed 8x10 from Richard Haskins from that. I'll have to dig that up sometime. That clip. But yeah. So R.I.P. obviously to all those people who gave us a tremendous amount of entertainment through the years. Let's end with a couple of chat AMAs, some questions from you guys here in the comments. I have to begin with this one from Panthror, who says, no fan question today. He just wants to congratulate, I said he, it might be a she. They want to just congratulate Kim on getting drafted into the Finstock Exchange on the movie Trivia Schmodown. Can't wait till her and Lon face off. Kim, congratulations.
Yay!
I do not know what I have let myself in for.
We're bitter arch rivals now. What are you gonna do?
We're pumping this up on the show each week. You have to get gradually more angry at each other.
Thank you for your congratulations. Thank you.
And oh man, so here I'll ask it, even though I have no idea if anyone on this panel is following football, because I don't at all. But D.A. Baracus says, I'd like to see this panel discuss the Super Bowl. What are their picks? And see right here, line is KC by 3. That is nonsense to me, D.A. Baracus. I don't know what that means.
It's the Kansas City Chiefs will be facing off against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you see, and that means that the point spread is 3 points. The Kansas City will have to win by more than 3 points to cover the spread. That's what that is.
Any other thoughts?
You're welcome. That's all I got. That's literally all.
Okay. Vanessa,
I have
Kim.
Nothing. Sorry.
Okay. Tom Brady plays for Tampa Bay, right? That's the Tom Brady team.
He sure
yes.
Does.
Tom Brady's now. Yeah, he was like, hey, you guys want to go to the Super Bowl this time? And they were like, sure. We're in Tampa. What else have we got going on?
We were very
he
excited.
Went over there.
This is a Tampa produced show, by the way. I am a Tampa boy.
Oh, right.
So pick your words carefully.
So I say go Chiefs. If that's where it comes down from.
Well, Ed Greer is a Chiefs fan, and Kevin Williamson, our Honest Trailer editor, who edits all the Honest Trailers, so you see his work all the time, is a diehard Kansas City fan. So either way, it's a Fandom and Screen Junkies win either way.
All I know is I will be making a superb bowl of chili.
Excellent. Ooh. When it's not a pandemic, I might ask to try some of that chili. Vanessa, I'm a big chili fan. So yeah, sorry, D.A. Baracus. Those are our in-depth Super Bowl thoughts. And lastly, Adam Holbert asks, does it annoy SJU that Corden got a nomination from Prom instead of Streep? James Corden, enemy of Honest Trailers. Lon, I'll let you speak to this. The Emmy stealing thief.
Listen, as an organization, as a group, Honest Trailers has nothing against James Corden, just for the record. Now, me personally, I'm not a fan, but Honest Trailers as a group, no long-term problem with James Corden. Let him win all the Globes so that, we could take some of the pressure off of the Emmys next time. That's what I say.
There you go. Maybe
at least he's singing in this one, but it's original songs, not songs with pop stars in his car. So I'm happy.
Because those have some bad flashbacks.
Meryl Streep has had plenty of nominations in her career. James Corden, he can have a nomination. Let him have one.
I do like imagining Streep. I don't think she did, having like a meltdown. Like, how did he get nominated and I didn't? Because
Tim, are people in the UK? Are you guys upset to have lost James Corden to us? Do you feel like is there a sense of loss there, or are you like secretly like you're not saying anything, but you're kind of like score, like we nailed it?
Definitely the second one, Lon.
I knew it. Deep down, I knew it.
And I speak for the whole of the UK, of course.
right.
Yeah, I feel like you guys pulled a fast. Somehow you got Piers
Mm.
Morgan and James Corden over here, and we just woke up one morning and then we had to live with them. Like I don't know when we agreed to that.
There was a document signed at some point. We missed it.
Yeah, like, I don't take it
We have
back.
to trade. We should have to trade and send them somebody. Like there should be
Yeah.
a printout. Like we give you this
Seriously.
actor, and then we get James
You guys have
Oh,
to
there
take
must
Glenn
be
Beck or
someone.
something.
we send you Chet Hanks, and then
Yes, something.
We'll renegotiate those terms. Guys, thank you so much for chatting today. We will be back on Friday with some WandaVision discussion. That's it for now. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.